we saved the best for last, our final segment of a Common Sense Club Friday edition, and we welcome to the program a great American, General Tommy Franks, back with us on the Common Sense Club, former commander of the United States Central Command, overseeing U.S. Armed Forces operations in the 25-country region, incling the Middle East. General Franks, nice to have you back. How you been?
Hey, Scott, how you doing, buddy?
Fantastic. And I saw the general down in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, when he was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame. The little boy from Wynnewood, Oklahoma, done pretty darn good. We're proud of you.
Ain't this a great country?
Unbelievable.
Even guys from Wynnewood, Oklahoma have a chance. My, what a country.
The country is exactly right. I was pleased to see you take a stand in this presidential race coming out firmly in Governor Romney's camp, and I want to talk a little bit about the race and some things in the news of late. Tell me, and for our listeners' sake, what, as you assess the choice Americans have in 11 days between Mitt Romney and Barack Obama, what concerns you most?
Scott, first off, I would tell you, somebody asked me the other day, said, well, how come you're an independent guy, Franks. How come you're coming out so strong for Mitt Romney? And I said, well, you guys got to remember that it was Bill Clinton that promoted me to general. I mean, ain't this a great country? And then I worked for, in the days after 9/11, for President George W. Bush. And so, I start out by saying, well, it goes like this. Here in about 11 days, we're going to have to make a choice. America's going to make a choice. And I can't remember whether it was my dad or whether it was somebody in the military that taught me rule number 2. And rule number 2 says, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. And so when I start thinking about who I'm going to support to be the next president of the United States, it occurs to me first thing that we need to do is stop digging. So that's my view, and that's kind of how all that came about. I believe that we have a pretty clear choice. And I believe that Americans have had a chance to see Mitt Romney up close and personal, and I, for one, have been watching him carefully, and I like what I see. I like leadership from the front. I like the possibility of reducing national debt. I like the possibility of having a middle class accept their rightful position in America, continue to grow, or I guess from where we've been the last several years, I look forward to having the middle class have a chance to grow. So I think we have a lot to look forward to in the future, and I'm not real pleased with where we've been in the past few years, Scott.
What worries you most if Barack Obama were to be reelected?
The whole. More of the same. Everything from a defense side of the equation that says, do we really want a Navy that moves from a current level of 287 ships and a request by the Navy for 313 ships? Do we really want to reduce that to 230 or something ships? And I get a kick out of all the politicians, and you know me well enough to know I'm not one. But I get a kick out of politicians like President Obama talking the other night on that debate about, well, you had aircraft carriers, and we actually land airplanes on them and stuff. Well, being an old country guy from Oklahoma, it occurs to me that no matter how capable those ships are, they have a real hard time in being in two places at the same time. If you have a view of America having, I think the term is shifted her focus to Asia, then what that implies is that we're going to kind of get one-sided in the way we approach the world and the way we provide security for the country. I'm a guy who prefers balance. I want the ability for America to do what she's done since America was born, and that's represent the interests of the people of the United States of America, provide security for the people of the United States of America without having to say, well, we'll only look in one direction. It occurs to me that when 9/11/01 came along, we might have been looking in a lot of different directions, but we sure weren't looking in the direction of terrorism. And, Scott, I'm just not interested in a national security situation where we put all of our eggs in one basket and reduce our armed forces when America is currently at war. It doesn't make any sense to me. And so you couple that with a whole lot of other things, like the largest debt in American history, and it leads me in the direction of Mitt Romney.
What do you think President Obama thinks of the men and women of the United States Armed Forces? I know a lot of folks that have served this great country who believe that he, quite honestly, doesn't have high regard, the regard a commander-in-chief should have for his troops. Do you agree with that?
Scott, that's a great question. A reporter asked me about 3 and a half years ago, when President Obama was first elected. Well, how do you think he'll be as the President of the United States? And here's what I said then, and I say the same thing today. If he knows some sergeants and some privates and some young officers in the military, and if he trusts them with his life, and if he believes in them, is willing to resource them the way they deserve to be resourced, then he'll be all right. And if he doesn't, then he won't be all right as our commander-in-chief. Well, Scott, I rest my case.
In other words, you don't think he has a high regard for our troops?
I do not.
And what would be if you had to pick all the reasons why he does not, what would be the reason you believe would be the most evident of that?
I believe that's, once again, that's a great question. I think about my grandkids. I think about what kind of military I want. I bet you do too. How about we start like this? I want the best equipped military in the world. I want the best trained military in the world. I want the best manned military in the world. I want the most loved military in the world. I want the most respected military in the world. When I take a look at where our military has been and what they've been doing in an ongoing war fight for America over the last 4 years, it seems to me that they've lived up to their end of the bargain. When I take a look at a budget that is already reduced $500 billion, with a prospect of a sequester, which the president not only supported but signed, that will take another $500 billion from our military, it seems to me that violates the loyalty which I believe our country should have to these kids that America's moms and dads give us to be in our military.
Unfortunately, we only have a minute left, but I do want to get your take on this story of what happened in Benghazi. And there's new information every day on this, the latest being that requests for help were denied 3 times during the attack now.
Let me start like this, Scott. I'll tell you what, if the request that I had submitted, that I submitted when I was a kid, serving halfway around the world a long, long time ago, had been denied, I wouldn't be talking to you on the telephone right now. What I can tell you is I don't know how all of it will shake out, but I do know that planning prevents poor performance. And if we had set ourselves up appropriately to be able to respond in one of the most dangerous areas in the world, I think our young people would have a heck of a lot better chance of being alive today.
Did those 4 Americans killed deserve better from their president, from their government?
You know what I think? I think let me answer it. Let me answer directly. I believe that no matter who becomes the next president of the United States, whether Barack Obama remains in office or whether Mitt Romney ascends to the presidency, I will bet you in the months ahead a whole bunch of heads are going to roll, because I guarantee you that somebody did not do the right thing by our people in Libya.
Unfortunately, we're probably not going to know until after the election as part of this cover-up for political reasons. General Franks, your candor is always appreciated. God bless you. A true American hero, our buddy Tommy Franks on the Common Sense Club. See you Monday.